place today. The next item is the report by Tadeusz ZWIEFKA on cross-border aspects of adoptions, and the first to take the floor will be our rapporteur, Mr. ZWIEFKA. Mr. President, Commissioner, colleagues, when we started working on this report in the Legal Affairs Committee, we put one question to ourselves: what is an adoption procedure? And the answer was quite clear. The purpose of an adoption procedure is to create a positive, loving environment for a developing child. The welfare of the child is the objective of any adoption procedure. That was an excellent starting point for our debate on the content of the report. There are two parts to this report. In the first part, we deal with various procedural aspects of abortion. Year on year, adoption procedures are improved, but there are still shortcomings, there are still question marks, and hence what we're looking for is at least minimum standards across the member states, so that we'd have all EU countries basically doing the same thing. Let me take you through these minimum standards. What's important is to respect the individuality of the child. The child is no one's property, and where possible, the child's opinion should be heard before decisions are taken. It's hard to imagine adoption decisions being taken without hearing the opinion of the biological parents if they're alive. It's also hard to imagine adoption decisions being taken before the whole procedure of taking children from their biological parents has been closed. We also discussed the 1993 Hague Convention on inter-country adoption and how well that's working. That's a very important instrument, a valuable document, but it only governs cross-border adoptions. It doesn't have anything to say about how we should cooperate in cases of adoption that only becomes cross-border later. We also need to deal more with the question of training judges and encouraging a harmonization of procedures and attitudes. In this report, there's nothing said about amending family law, because that is a member state prerogative and it will stay that way. But where it is possible, we should together develop procedures, design procedures that will put the welfare of the child even more at the heart of considerations. And that's why in the second part of my report you will find a proposal to the European Commission, should it wish to propose legislation on cross-border aspects of adoptions. We're talking about situations where the adoptive parents and the child are in the same country. What happens at the moment if you have adoptive parents and children from the same country and the family moves across a border? They have to restart the whole administrative procedure. What we're looking for is automatic administrative recognition, and I think that would be of great help. We're also looking for a parallel situation as we have with inheritance, multilingual inheritance. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rapporteur, for that very important contribution. And from the European Commission, we're now going to hear from Věra, JOUROVÁ.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Honourable members of the Parliament, the protection and the promotion of children's rights is a real priority for the European Commission. We must ensure that the rights of those who are in particularly difficult situations, such as the victims of abduction or children in migration, are fully respected and promoted. For instance, the proposal for the recast of the Brussels IIa regulation, which was adopted last year on the 30th of June, strengthens the rights of the child. It introduces a new obligation concerning the hearing of children and specific measures to enhance the efficiency of return proceedings in case of parental abduction. I would like to thank Mr. ZWIEFKA for his comprehensive report. I fully support the call on Member States to strengthen mutual trust and administrative cooperation between them on this important matter. Training for legal practitioners working in the field of cross-border adoption is essential in this respect. The Commission is ready to co-finance relevant projects proposed by interested Member States and stakeholders in line with the current financial framework. The Commission is aware that the lack of recognition of adoption orders between Member States may entail problems both for the parents and especially for the child. But we are lacking updated data on this. The Commission did a study on the subject matter back to 2009, which was discussed at a joint conference with the Council of Europe in the very same year. However, that study did not provide the Commission with data, as Member States did either not keep statistics or did not want simply to share them. We are aware the adoptive parents may encounter problems when they move to another Member State, and that the adopted children's civil status may be questioned. But let me be clear, this is a very sensitive area of law, and we need for any legislative proposal in the family law area unanimity in the Council to be adopted. You mentioned it yourself that family law is a domain for the Member States. Any initiative on the recognition of adoption orders at the EU level, therefore, needs to be very strongly evidence-based. For instance, how many cases of lack of recognition are we talking about? Which are the key aspects invoked when recognition is challenged? How are Member States dealing with such cases? Currently, preliminary work and a consultation regarding a possible initiative on the recognition of domestic adoptions are being carried out at the international level in the context of the Hague Conference on Private International Law. Further developments within the Hague Conference can help clarify the depth and extent of the problem and the willingness of Member States to deal with it at international level, as well as any need for corresponding action at EU level. I am following this issue closely and will keep the Parliament informed. In parallel, we will continue to support Member States.